The water runs red, not with blood, but with millions of armored bodies crawling through Louisiana's mud. An invasion is happening right now, beneath the surface, and most people have no idea. They came from somewhere else. They don't belong here, but they're here anyway, burrowing through rivers, swarming into fields, devouring everything native species need to survive. Each female drops hundreds of eggs, turning peaceful swamps into biological war zones. But here's where it gets strange. These invaders generate $500 million every year. Fishermen make their living hunting them. Scientists scramble to find ways to stop them. So which is it? Are we fighting them or feeding off them? This is the story of monster crawfish, the alien species that conquered America's wetlands. They arrived mid-century. Giant red crayfish from the hot, humid swamps of South America, introduced to the southern United States as an experiment. Just a cheap protein source, people thought. Something to farm in rice paddies and irrigation ditches. Nobody imagined what would happen next. The creatures people dismissed as harmless started doing what they do best: burrowing, spreading, breeding at rates that defied prediction. Within years, the farms couldn't contain them. Then the floods came. Waters rose across Louisiana and Texas, and thousands of crawfish rode those currents straight out of captivity. They poured into rivers, lakes, canals, anywhere water flowed. The Mississippi River System, North America's greatest aquatic network, became their highway. They swam, crawled, dug through mud, leaving hollow burrows like the footprints of an advancing army. The red tide spread. Texas to Alabama, Alabama to the Carolinas. In less than 40 years, monster crawfish colonized more than half the United States. From southern swamps to northern lakes, they adapted, survived, multiplied. Biologists call them aquatic gorillas, small but relentless, nearly impossible to kill. One female lays over 600 eggs in a season. Let just a handful survive, and within months you'll have hundreds more. Then thousands. The speed of their expansion caught everyone off guard. Rivers that had sustained native crayfish species for millennia suddenly belonged to the invaders. The newcomers were bigger, more aggressive, better at finding food. They outcompeted locals for shelter, for breeding grounds, for everything that mattered. Native populations collapsed while the Red Army marched on. Ecologists watched helplessly as entire food chains restructured around these South American immigrants. Fish that once fed on native crayfish had to adapt or starve. Plants that depended on specific water conditions found their habitats destroyed by relentless burrowing. The crawfish didn't just move in, they remodeled. Louisiana mornings don't start with birdsong anymore. They start with engines growling across muddy water. Thick fog hangs over crimson canals as small aluminum boats cut through the muck, leaving trails of disturbed silt. On deck, weathered hands haul up heavy iron traps. Inside each one, hundreds of bright red crawfish thrash and snap like the water's boiling. For these swamp fishermen, this isn't just work. It's the front line of a war they didn't choose, but can't afford to lose. From Baton Rouge to Lafayette, thousands of people depend on the creatures that destroyed their original way of life. They used to fish for other species. They used to hunt shrimp. But when crawfish invaded the bayous, those resources vanished. To survive, they adapted. They turned the destroyer into dinner. The transformation didn't happen overnight. At first, local fishermen resisted. These weren't the crawfish their grandfathers caught. These were foreign, invasive, wrong. But economics has a way of changing minds. When your nets come up empty of everything except crawfish, you either learn to sell crawfish or you starve. So they learned. They studied the creatures' habits, their seasonal patterns, where they congregated in spring and where they hid in winter. They developed new trap designs, new baiting techniques. What started as desperation became expertise. Every morning before dawn breaks and fog still blankets the marsh, boats shoot out like arrows across dark water. Engines roar, waves slam against aluminum hulls, mud and water spray up in blood-red streaks. These fishermen don't wait for sunrise. They set traps while the swamp sleeps, because time is their enemy and the water never stops moving. Calloused hands pull trap after trap. Each time one surfaces, hundreds of crawfish thrash inside, making that distinctive metallic clatter. The mud underfoot is thick, slippery like oil. One wrong step, and you're in cold water with snakes, leeches, alligators circling nearby. But they keep working, bending, pulling, never stopping. Because out here, whoever moves slow loses. The rhythm is relentless. Drop trap, pull trap, dump catch, drop again. Hundreds of traps, thousands of crawfish. The cycle never ends. Some days the haul is good, traps so full they can barely lift them. Other days they come up nearly empty, and the fishermen burn fuel for nothing. It's a gamble every single morning. Water temperature, weather patterns, moon phases, everything affects the catch. These men read the swamp like others read newspapers, looking for signs that tell them where to set their lines. The physical toll is brutal. Backs bent for hours, hands torn by trap wire and shell edges, knees that ache from bracing against rocking boats. By noon, most fishermen have already put in a full day's work. By sunset, they're planning tomorrow's routes, repairing traps, checking equipment. In these red waters, survival depends on speed and stamina. And through it all, monster crawfish keep thriving while these people risk their lives daily just to make a living. Inside Louisiana's processing plants, the air fills with machine noise, steam clouds, and the sharp smell of spices. Hundreds of workers move through the humid chaos, processing the invasion one crawfish at a time. Conveyor belts carry endless streams of red bodies, tails curled, shells glistening like heated metal. The ecological menace is becoming packaged product, shipped worldwide, New Orleans to Tokyo, Houston to Beijing. In massive industrial kitchens, water boils in enormous pots. Crawfish drop in by the thousands, along with salt, garlic, lemon, chili peppers. Metal clangs against metal. Workers shout over the noise. It's chaos turned into commerce. The processing facilities run year-round, though spring brings the real madness. That's peak season, when crawfish are fattest and most abundant. Workers pull double shifts. Trucks arrive every hour with fresh catches. The whole operation runs like a military campaign, coordinated, intense, unrelenting. Quality control workers inspect every batch. Size matters in this business. The biggest crawfish command premium prices at restaurants. Medium ones go to retailers. The smallest get processed into crawfish tail meat, sold in frozen bags to grocery stores across the country. Nothing goes to waste. Shells become animal feed or fertilizer. The liquid from boiling gets processed into flavor extracts. An entire industry has grown around every part of these creatures, turning invasion into innovation. But crawfish became more than just food. It became culture, Southern identity. People celebrate crawfish boil festivals, dancing, eating, celebrating tons of spicy crawfish. The invader became a point of pride. Their distinctive aroma, fishy, sweet, spicy, spread from New Orleans restaurants to Dallas diners to high-end New York establishments. Cuisine transformed the invasion into celebration. Walk through any southern town during crawfish season, and you'll smell it everywhere. Backyard boils on weekends. Restaurant specials every night, gas stations selling live crawfish by the pound. It's woven into the social fabric now, inseparable from the culture itself. Food writers call it culinary adaptation. Chefs experiment with crawfish étouffée, crawfish pie, crawfish pasta, crawfish everything. What started as necessity became creativity. The restaurants that learned to feature crawfish thrived. The ones that resisted lost customers. But crawfish aren't the only invaders rewriting America's ecological story. While the red tide swept through inland swamps, another silent invasion was happening along the coasts. This one came from tropical Asia, riding cargo ships and shipping containers into Florida and Georgia ports. Green mussels. They attach themselves to everything: piers, fishing boats, seawater intake pipes. At first, just scattered colonies. But within years, dense green masses blanketed seawalls, clogged infrastructure, threatened entire coastal aquaculture operations. Each female releases millions of microscopic larvae that drift with ocean currents, spreading hundreds of miles. If crawfish are the red storm of the swamp, green mussels are the silent disaster of warming seas, proof that humans never had as much control over nature as we believed. Green mussels evolved in the warm waters of Southeast Asia, Thailand, Malaysia, the Philippines. In their native habitat, they thrive in moderate salinity and temperatures between 77 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Their reproduction rate is staggering. One mature female releases over 5 million eggs annually. Tiny larvae float freely with ocean currents, traveling thousands of miles before settling on any suitable surface. This combination, rapid reproduction and ocean current dispersal, brought them to the United States in the late 1990s. First detected in Tampa Bay, Florida, they spread throughout the Gulf of Mexico and up the Atlantic coast within years, clogging docks, fish farms, boats, even the cooling systems of coastal power plants. Power plant operators discovered the problem when intake pipes started failing. What should have been smooth water flow became choked passages, forcing shutdowns and emergency cleanings. Each cleaning cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Each shutdown meant lost power generation revenue. Marine construction companies reported the same problems. Bridge supports that should last decades needed cleaning after just months. Boat hulls accumulated so much muscle mass that fuel efficiency dropped dramatically. Marinas started requiring regular hull inspections just to keep vessels seaworthy. In their Asian homeland, they're a popular delicacy. In America, they became a multi-million-dollar biological nightmare. Proof that a few inches of water and a few years can completely transform an ocean. Biologists call them ocean nomads, fast-breeding, long-distance travelers, nearly impossible to eliminate. Each female produces millions of larvae smaller than dust specks, drifting for 3 weeks, moving dozens of miles before finding attachment points. Within months, their shells grow thick and dense, clogging systems, forcing facilities to spend millions on annual cleanup. One marine biologist described them perfectly. If crawfish are a land invasion, green mussels are an underwater invasion. They're quiet, but they spread like plague. But the American South has always known how to turn crisis into opportunity. As cleanup costs mounted and seafood markets grew desperate for supply, some fishermen started seeing mussels differently. Not as invasive pests, but as a new protein source sitting right in front of them. From Florida to Louisiana, an experiment began, harvesting green mussels to control populations while profiting from them. Every morning when the water's still calm, small boats leave Tampa Bay. On board, divers, grappling hooks, razor blades, hundreds of pounds of containers. Their job sounds simple: remove green mussels from bridge piers, water pipes, fish cages. In reality, it's dangerous and exhausting work. A few meters down, visibility vanishes amid billions of densely packed organisms. One slip of the blade tears through gloves, cuts hands. The shells are razor sharp, slicing through wetsuits. Every time they pry open a section, hundreds more fall on top of them, splashing murky water everywhere. The clang of metal, the heavy breathing through oxygen tanks. These become the familiar sounds of men working in ocean darkness. At small ports like Clearwater and Fort Myers, refrigerated trucks wait. Mussels go straight from boat to brine-washing conveyor belts, then get quickly steamed at 212 degrees to split shells and kill parasites. Each tray of mussel meat gets frozen at 0 degrees, packaged in boxes labeled "Fresh Green Mussels, Wild Harvest, Florida." From there, they distribute to coastal restaurants and get exported to Texas, California, even Canada. Some processing facilities started experimental farming of green mussels in cages, claiming easier harvesting and better biological control, but scientists warn that any form of farming, no matter how controlled, risks spreading larvae into open environments. On an industrial scale, green mussel processing plants operate 24 hours daily. Compressors hiss, steam billows. The strong smell of salt saturates everything every day. Tons of mussels get peeled, sorted, frozen, some for export, the rest for cheap seafood restaurant chains. The green mussel harvest industry generates an estimated $100 million annually, though it's never been officially recognized by the government as a legitimate profession. And like any subsistence fishery, the line between exploitation and destruction blurs. Fishermen claim they're helping clean the coast, but uneven harvesting allows mussel populations to regenerate faster in less harvested areas. From Louisiana's red swamps to Florida's blue waters, two tiny creatures accomplished what humans fear most. They change the world on their own terms. One gets called food, one gets called parasite, but both reflect the same truth. When nature gets tampered with, nothing remains pure. They thrive because humans brought them here. They persist because humans find profit in the chaos. And when profit becomes the reason to continue, any attempt at control becomes an illusion. The seas are restless, the swamps are restless. These seemingly small creatures are changing the world, one wave at a time, one trap at a time. This is the real world, and it's fighting back.